The left, of course, it appeals to young people because changing the world is such an attractive idea. The world is full of misery. Everywhere you look. If you look, there's misery. Abuses of children. Abuses of dogs and cats and horses. Everywhere you look, there's misery. If you could change the world, who wouldn't want to do it? But look at the enterprises to change the world in the 20th century. Nazism was such an enterprise. We just get rid of the Mongoloids and the Jews and the mixed races, we're going to have heaven here. Communism. If we just get rid of capitalists, we'll create a paradise on earth. What they created was the most oppressive state in the history of the world. The deaths of 120 million people in peacetime. And unimaginable, artificially created poverty. Man-made famines that killed millions of people. That's what progressives produce when they get the power. Because you can only change the world a little piece at a time. And there's a reason that we are where we are and not somewhere else. It's human nature, it's human psychology. You could read all of the Marxist texts in the world that will never, ever encounter in the text or look at what people are actually made of and why it's so difficult to change things. But the fantasy is there. We're going to change the world. It's exactly the same fantasy that Osama bin Laden had. We'll make everybody Muslim and they'll follow Sharia and then the world will be a holy place. So there's a natural affinity that they have. And they have learned to talk very well in the terms of the left. That the social justice. It's a noble idea, but it's an impossible dream. And I say this having spent the first half of my life trying to achieve social justice and seeing the movements that I supported. You know, I was part of the so-called anti-war left in the 60s. We forced America to get out of Vietnam. The Nixon side that we hated said there'll be a massacre if we leave. Oh, we said, no, there won't. And there was. They killed 2.5 million people, the communist state. And there wasn't one leftist protest against that. The hypocrisy over the oppression of women and the oppression of gays. Where's the only place in the Middle East you can have a gay pride parade? Israel. Of course, if Israel has stolen the land and is occupying it, you know, doesn't balance out. But Israel didn't steal the land. I placed an ad in the Daily Tar Heel, which got a reaction, just to make that point, the occupied point. I am not optimistic. I am an optimist by nature, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Attempting to reach people on this campus. And you see how hard it is. There are very few students here. And that's because people, you see the left is very, very good at character assassination. You're seeing it happening with Rush Limbaugh right now. I'm glad we have some leftists here, that's good. You can see it happening with Rush Limbaugh. Bill Maher is a true misogynist, a hateful person, and his comments about women, which I would not repeat here tonight are, whatever, 1,000 times worse than Limbaugh's. But you won't find a communist like Jane Fonda or an airhead like, well, they're both airheads, Gloria Steinem, or Gloria Allred, who I actually have had at my events, complaining about Bill Maher or any one of a dozen or 1,000 leftists that step over their lines. It's very effective. Very effective. Anyway, you can see I'm a little frustrated about this campus in particular. But I thank you all for coming, and I will take questions.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, we're just going to take questions, a few from each side of the aisle. We have someone walk around with the microphone, so you can start right there.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Horowitz. My question is, what is just as the Islamic hatred of Israel is motivated by the Quranic and Hadithic texts, what is the apology on the left perhaps motivated by the hatred of the Judeo-Christian civilization that we have? Is that part of the reason that they have the apology? Because as we know, that counterculture movement, that was their goal, to shift the work away from that.
Of course, the left is generally hostile to religion because it's a rival religion. That's what it is. It's about a redemption in this life. But I think, I have to say, I spent many years in the left. And my writing partner, you may know Peter Collier, who wasn't born into the left, but came over, and he would always be saying that leftists are malicious. And I look inside and I did not see any malice. However, and I didn't go, I don't want to excuse myself for what not at all. But I remember, I never did the chant, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? But that's malicious. So I don't think, I'm not sure the left is very negative. You can tell by their tactics. They shut people down. Conservatives do not come and shout people down. This is the South, so this was a more civilized form of protest. But I don't know, but I don't think the right comes to events like this to march out en masse. It certainly doesn't call its opponents the kinds of names that people like me routinely get called, or misrepresent what they say so as to better to skewer them. Look, the kids, Muslim kids on this campus and on other campuses, a lot of them are very nice kids. And I've talked to them if you don't challenge them, if you don't get into the Middle East and the actual issues, they're completely friendly and very intelligent. And if you get into the Middle East, suddenly it becomes very crazy and anti-Semitic. At least that's my experience, the experiences that I've had in my encounters on college campuses. But this movement, as I say, the MSA on this campus, now the rabbi here, they work with them and they're good kids, but they're not going to test them. To test them is to insult them. They're not going to say, well, look, the Muslim Students Association sponsored nationwide a Hate Israel Week called Israeli Apartheid Week. Totally built on lies. Jews target little children. They have posters showing Jewish helicopters shooting, 6-year-olds. Maps of a non-existent Palestine in 1947 or 48. All of these lies. On these Israeli apartheid walls, they have the way you do saints and heroes. They have Sheikh Yassin, a mass murderer who killed 387, was responsible for the murders of 387 civilians individually or in small groups, not all at once. Why wouldn't you, if you are friends with somebody, say, well, what do you think about that? Wouldn't you condemn that or dissociate yourself from Israeli apartheid week? What the Muslim Students Association is, it's a recruitment organization. So it's mainly religious and cultural. The more aggressive, and they always work hand in glove, organization is Students for Justice in Palestine. What they do is they get the kids who they see have potential to move up in the brotherhood. In that pamphlet, there's a page in which it lists what the careers of, I think it's 9 former presidents of Muslim Students Associations, who all went on to leadership positions in Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations. The most famous one being Anwar al-Awlaki, who was the MSA president at Colorado State. Now, we're not talking about somebody who came in to pray. We're talking about somebody who was elevated to be president of the organization. When I was attacked by Hillel on this campus last year, I did some research and I looked at the Muslim Students Association site. It's all pretty much, it's all religious and cultural. But then they have a summer training program. So I would call a cadre training program. All of the instructors came to teach the class that they were giving to their students were members of the Islamic Society of North America, which is a brotherhood front.